Welcome to PCM's annual meeting, and thank you for being brave by supporting the museum through this historic year. And wow, what a year it has been. With our major activity and income severely restricted, Caroline and staff creatively branched out into areas new to the museum, as you will hear and see tonight. We did not abandon the children and families in our community. With phenomenal help from our community partners, the Rhode Island Department of Education, Children's Friends, and DCYF, and donors like the Norman and Rosalie Fain Family Foundation, the Murray Family Charitable Foundation, National Endowments for the Arts, IMLS, and Ms. Carol A. Peterson, and others, we have stayed financially viable to develop new programs that serve more children. Our new outreach into different communities will continue into the future, diversifying and expanding the museum's clientele and financial base. The world has changed, and we all must adapt to its new realities. Thank you to the staff for exploring uncharted territory and stepping up to do jobs you had never done before. Thank you for leading the museum into the future. We have two members of our board who we will miss greatly and offer an enormous amount of gratitude for their service to the museum. Joe has served on the PCM board since 2018. His first board experience. With 3 children of his own, Joe understood the importance of PCM's mission and championed play through partnerships with Loch Lord. We are thankful for Joe's service on the governance committee. We wish you the very best, Joe. Thank you. Vinnie Browning came to PCM in 2013 with an affection for the museum from his personal experiences coming to PCM as a child and then bringing his twin daughters. With membership on the Executive, Finance, and Governance Committee, and as the former board chair, Vinnie was always looking for opportunities for PCM to grow and expand. In this last year, Vinnie's professional insight at Amgen helped PCM during a time when scientific insight was critical. Vinnie's championing of play led to an extensive partnership with Amgen, funding critical STEAM programming in person and online. Thank you, Vinnie. You will be missed as a board member, but we are delighted that you will be our newest member of the Ambassador of Play. Our board is involved, passionate, and engaged. We are thrilled to expand it tonight with 5 new members, each who bring their own sets of talents and skills. We couldn't be more thrilled to welcome them. First, we welcome Tino Chow. Tino comes into branding with an unexpected background as a former military officer in the Singapore Army who went to art school. Tino discovered his niche by combining his experience in operations with creativity. He works with leaders and companies, leveraging the power of brand strategy, design thinking, and design doing in order to maximize their position in their market. Before starting Giant Shoulders, Tino spent over a decade building creative cultures and collaborative teams with agencies in New York and startups in Silicon Valley. Tino holds a design degree from Rhode Island School of Design, where he is an adjunct professor. He frequently gives talks on branding and design thinking and is a TED Fellow. Welcome, Tino. We welcome Dania Gonzalez Guzman. Dania comes from Amgen, where she is the AR30 Director of Quality Assurance and Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging Lead. Prior to joining Amgen, Dania held validation and technical service positions of increasing responsibility in 2 companies in Puerto Rico. Dania earned her master's in business administration from the University of New Orleans, Louisiana, and a degree in chemical engineering from the University of Puerto Rico at Mayagüez. Dania lives in Rhode Island with her husband and 2 daughters and enjoys traveling, reading, and spending time with her family. And we welcome you, Dania. We welcome Ted Kresh. Ted is a communications director and lead spokesperson for National Grid Rhode Island. Ted has over 20 years of experience in the field of communications, including public relations, media relations, and public affairs, with more than 4 years as a researcher and associate producer for Tim Russert and NBC's Meet the Press program. He is a recent Leadership Rhode Island graduate and active volunteer with a variety of organizations across the state. Welcome to the board, Ted. We welcome Matthew Phillips. Matt joined Duffy Sweeney in May of 2018 as an attorney in the business law practice. Matt was a sergeant in the United States Army, serving as a paratrooper for 4.5 years. He also was deployed to Afghanistan in Operation Enduring Freedom 2010. Matt was active as a volunteer with Educate Tomorrow, a Florida-based nonprofit committed to helping foster children go to college and support them into early adulthood. He and his wife just welcomed their first child. We are glad to have Matt's experience here at PCM. We welcome Quineel Simmons, who is joyful and hopes to help individuals in systemic approaches. Professionally, he has worked in the clinical research field for 5 years, preparing him to be a pediatrician. Therefore, it will not surprise you that Quineel loves both science and working with children, with his greatest fulfillment through experiences volunteering at Hasbro Children's Hospital, both in the playroom as well as participating in the Read to Me program, and as the boys basketball coach for the Paul Cuffey Middle School. To quote Quineel, PCM's mission to inspire lifelong learning for all through play, creativity, and exploration has resonated with me since I was a child visiting the museum through the present, returning with my nieces, nephews, and cousins so that they can enjoy their own experiences at PCM. We are thrilled and welcome Quineel to the board. So we first need to vote. I first need to see a motion in the chat room to accept these 5 new board members. So if we could have a motion and a second in the chat room. Let's see. Okay, thank you, Matt Schaaf, for making the motion. Do I have a second? And have quite a few seconds. So if you would please vote through the chat room to accept our 5 new board members, that would be wonderful. And we also have a new executive slate, the 2021 slate. President Marianne Persley, Vice President would be Matthew Schaaf, Treasurer would be Patrick Martin, and the Secretary would be Wendy Gray. So if also through the chat room, if we could have a motion to accept this new executive slate. See, do I have a motion in the chat room? Oh, thank you very much. Do I have a second? Oh, I do have a second. So also in the chat room, would you please vote for this new slate of officers? So thank you very much. And now I will turn it over to Caroline, our executive director, who will take us through what was a most unusual year.
Thank you, Marty. So remember when we could be together? We began 2020 by celebrating New Year's Eve with 700 visitors on the ramp, while Mayor Jorge Elorza and his son Omar dropped the ball on 2020, a new year and a new decade. Coming off of 3 months of our highest visitation numbers ever, we were full of hope and ready to break some records. And January and February didn't just break records, we shattered them. With 1,200 visitors in a single day over February vacation, we were on track to exceed 200,000 visitors, our highest numbers ever. And then March happened. When we closed on March 13th with the rest of the country, we were uncertain about a lot of things, but knew that we needed to be there for the kids of Rhode Island. Before we packed up for what we thought was just 2 weeks, the education and external relation teams gathered to plan digital programming. It was new to us, but we knew how to pivot. In less than a week, our PCM educators produced their first videos, providing the homebound kids of Rhode Island with engaging and educational experiences, with themes like Maker Mondays, Toonie Tuesdays, Water Wednesdays, Try It Thursdays, and Fiction Fridays. And although they were stuck at home too, they tested water density in their own tubs, they did STEM experiments on their kitchen tables, and bought lots of shower curtains to use as backdrops for story time. And when Governor Raimondo put out a call for April to be Reading Month, our educators rose to the challenge by featuring a guest reader every day, including some local celebrities.
I'm Taren.
And I'm Clara.
And we have another book to read to you today.
And today we'll be reading Penguin Problems.
And look there, a tasty rabbit for me to eat.
Become a fish in a trout stream, and I will swim away from you.
¿Estará dentro del piano? No. Yellow duck, what do you see? I see absolutely no dogs!
But there was one boy who loved being outside.
Jabari hit the water with a splash.
What a day for the great outdoors.
We see them come, we see them go. Some are fast and some are slow.
They didn't light up, they didn't have wheels.
Do princesses ride tricycles?
Hop. Dog jumps on a pig, but the pig is so full up.
And the stone was rough, and the stone was smooth.
It was bad enough the cows had found the old typewriter in the barn.
I have endless curiosity. I make discoveries.
We like to feel the breeze go past. Please.
Studio PCM, as we called it, produced daily videos full of fun, play, and project-based learning that were free to anyone who wanted to use them, whether it was a teacher trying to liven up a virtual lesson or a parent who just needed a break. Approached by the Rhode Island Department of Education as one of the first organizations to provide virtual courses to children under 10, our educators led 12 summer courses for students in Rhode Island public schools, 3 of them in Spanish. We also had a local author lead a writing workshop for middle grade readers so that they too could learn how to develop stories and characters. The education team started working with teachers through our new Play Intensive program. After starting with the Play Boot Camp, this diverse group of pre-K through 3 teachers will now create digital learning resources, including standards-based lesson plans that will be part of a library that will meet educational standards, inspire creativity, and cultivate social emotional learning skills while engaging learners through our play-based approach. RIDE educators will also then be able to access all of these resources free of charge. Even our AmeriCorps team became seasoned videos professionals by bringing PCM to the children of Head Start with a virtual field trip starring Sunny, a new character that they created to bring PCM to the Head Start programs. Families Together, our visitation program for children in state care, was the first thing that reopened. With a complete focus on families, our FT clinicians conducted meetings over Zoom so that kids who hadn't been able to visit their parents could now connect over a screen with the guidance of our clinicians. And as things got better, families could meet in person at Nina's house with every precaution taken, every surface cleaned, and all the protocols followed. When it was safe, children were finally able to meet back at PCM, creating joyful memories in waterways and little woods, keeping their connection despite the uncertainty of the world. The hardest thing we had to do this year was to close the exhibit spaces in the museum. As a hands-on interactive place, we faced many challenges before we could allow visitors, including state guidelines and limits on capacity and following CDC regulations on personal protective equipment. PPP is a new acronym that we all know, and social distancing. We also surveyed our visitors to gauge comfort and mitigate their concerns. We wanted families to be able to return with as few worries as possible. The PCM team came together to make sure we were ready, particularly the facilities and visitor services teams, who installed a no-touch temperature taking kiosk, a no-touch hand towel dispensers all over the museum, sanitizing mister, and other equipment within the museum, along with providing masks and face shields and gloves for museum staff and families. They came up with plans for time ticketing, social distancing, and cleaning. We were delighted to open in a limited capacity for October and November, but then closed for the rest of the year due to state restrictions when COVID numbers began to surge. Before the closure, we continued our work on the Creativity Initiative, first with an installation, Feeling Real or Really Feeling, designed by Brooke Aaron Goldstein and Stephen Lubecki, which was seen by over 45,000 visitors before we had to close. With year two's focus, the theme of creating a better world, our exhibit staff collaborated with Down City Design, a teen art making collective, to create a new exhibit that would inspire visitors to imagine wondrous new worlds. The students reached the point of turning their ideas into concepts, and an exhibit design, which, although delayed due to COVID closures, is now scheduled to be installed in 2022. But the initiative continued virtually, bringing Rhode Island's creative community to young children through programs and workshops helping to stem learning loss and develop easy-to-use opportunities to make, create, play, and discover. Children and families attended online events to activate problem solving and make connections between STEAM and creativity. And in October, we worked with our newest creativity partner, the Avenue Concepts, and piloted a community mural making project in the safety of our outdoor parking lot. As digital natives, our interns were an enormous help in supporting our work, even if they had to work remotely. Our Studio Institute Arts interns focused on creative artifacts and digital media, identifying opportunities to engage with the artifacts and sharing their experiences through social media. Our Brown University Swearer Center Bonner Fellow kept conversation and connection alive with our large volunteer base and of students and friends. A grant from an anonymous foundation allowed us to create a modernized and integrated digital presence, a critical medium during the COVID-19 pandemic. Our previous website was over 20 years old, built in ASP, which is a precursor to HTML. The site wasn't mobile or tablet friendly and didn't allow for e-commerce or e-ticketing, and staff had to outsource even the smallest change or update. The grant allowed us to rethink our brand as well, which also hadn't been updated since the 20th century. We worked with Nail Communications, a preeminent design firm based in Providence, to create an identity that uniquely captured the diversity, creativity, and engagement and joy of PCM and our vision of play. We learned that we were too big for just one logo. They created 18 unique PCM designs featuring the distinct ways that play can be embraced by children. At the center of our new identity are the PCM kids, who represent the children who we serve. The first step in our process was to create a manifesto, a summary of who we are that was generated from interviews with families, community members, board members, and staff, exploring what it means to be PCM. And you'll be seeing a lot of this throughout the coming year. We saw ourselves as champions of play, determined to defend it wherever we're needed, through our online activities, in our big brick building, or in our communities. And in 2020, through an unwavering determination, and our championship continued to bring play to the children of Rhode Island, despite the circumstance. In addition to the partnership with NAIL, we also worked with Image Associates to create a new website that has user experience at the heart, allowing our visitors to access digital programming, community resources, lesson plans, activity cards, and the people are able to now purchase tickets and gift shop items. With 2020 behind us, there's a lot more on the horizon. If this year has taught us anything, it's that we have a significant role to play in the lives of our children and families. We'll continue to build on our partnerships, expanding to include more opportunities with RIDE and local creatives, but we're also here to support families through our new mental health program, where we're working with trauma-informed partners to provide resources to children and families struggling with loss and reentry. We know we'll recapture our momentum and we'll be welcoming families back to the building beginning in July. The littlest people will be the last to be vaccinated, so we also know our numbers may continue to be lower than they were during the before times, but we'll be there for our community as much as we possibly can. We'll continue to champion play in all forms because, to quote our manifesto, we know that play is more than what a child does, play is more than what a child is, play is what a child becomes, and we will continue our job to champion it. Did we have any questions? I'm a former teacher, so I'll give people a second. All right, there's still no questions. So everybody's off the hook. We won't leave you on pause.
So that's the end of our presentation. And I want to thank you all for all you've done to make this year a success. And in spite of everything that's happened, it really has been a successful year for PCM. So thank you.
I'd like to thank you as well and let everybody know that we look so forward to the next year.
So thank you for joining us and have a good evening.